I was left for dead. That's how my journey in entrepreneurship started. I left the corporate world and my finance and MBA degrees behind me to share my story. Welcome to That Entrepreneur Show, where resilience meets hustle. Let's build and learn from our guest now.
Do you have your own personal board of directors, right? Are you taking the time to build your network? I coach a lot of new entrepreneurs on how to build a network when they have no idea. And it's not as hard as you guys think it is. It just doesn't, at first doesn't feel right. You're like, what? That's how you do it?
We are back with another live stream today. I'm excited to reconnect with James. Welcome back and good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Vincent. I'm excited to be here.
Big shout out to Margaret who put this whole relationship together. We had our intro call last week. We have got a great show ahead. Everyone, thank you for stopping by That Entrepreneur Show, continuing to tune in and make this a top 2.5% global podcast. But today we're diving into atypical path to creating success with this company. We're also going to be focusing on creating value, emerging trends, and latest advancements in tech. But he's got two different fields he started a company in, so I'm really excited to dive into that once we get going. But I do want to get you excited because not only are we touching on those areas, we are going to talk about the road to building a company. It's not just doing things out of turn, out of place, because you'll waste a lot of time like myself and countless entrepreneurs out there. So I'd love to go back, James, because we do this show in phases, the beginning, what's happening now, and then the future. Back to when this company was starting, road to building your first company. Let's talk about why.
Bills to pay. That's what it comes down to, right? I always tell people the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My grandfather, his dad passed away when he was 16 years old, and he was the oldest of a big family. So he had to drop out of high school and go get a job at a tire shop. And he's a hardworking dude, and I'm, his grandson. And so he is like, James, when you graduate from high school, I want you to go and start a painting company. I want you to paint the lines on the highway. I was like, what? What kind of dream is that? But I was like, let's do it. So I didn't start painting the road, but I started painting houses. And that's where my entrepreneurship journey started. And I knocked on doors and I got deals. And, I'm dating myself, but it was a couple decades ago.
How was the client acquisition process in a field like painting when you got started? What did you do to attract customers and ultimately close deals?
Well, I had no idea what I was doing, like most entrepreneurs in their first gig, right? So best thing is like, well, let's go do something. So I found neighborhoods, homes that I thought would be a good target to learn on. And I knocked on doors. Owners came out. I had my hat and clipboard and polo on. And, prior to that, I went through courses to learn how to paint a house. So at least I had the mental awareness to do that
back
first.
Up there,
I had a product, right? But then door to door started selling and then putting crews to work, multiple crews, and did that for years, and then transitioned that into a power washing company as well.
What led you to transition and recognize that trend that we just previewed?
Yeah, so happenstance, lucky. I was out, my crew was painting, and we always power wash the house and clean it up before we put a new coat of paint on. And a neighbor comes over and says, hey, I see you got a power washer there. I don't need a paint job, but can you power wash the house? And I sent a guy over there for a couple hours, got it done. The margins were great. And I was like, pretty hot here in the South. So let's go play with water a bit more. And that's what we did. Created another smaller crew, which was great. Smaller crew, better margins and recurring revenue because I could do the commercial job or house every year. And so power washing just made a bit more sense for us. So transition there.
Were you able to retain any of the same talent, or did you have to start from scratch on the next venture?
No, same talent because they had to do the power wash before paint jobs. So we retained the talent, and I got to actually slim the team down. So my top line was doing just as well. And the thing with painting is people paint every 15 years. Power washing, they do it every year, every other year. So I was able to really juice I love recurring revenue. I'm addicted to it.
And I think that's a great recognizing you're in the field, you're in the game. Oh, wow. Maybe once my whole company where I can get paid yearly, you're 15xing your revenue.
Yeah, anything you can do with your business to make your revenue predictable is a great thing because then as you go through seasonality, if you have seasonality in your business, you're still able to predict, here's the need, here's what I want to do, here's how I can scale, and it does change everything. And while I was doing that, I figured, man, I probably should. The thing I didn't understand well was my numbers, right? I wasn't, my bookkeeper would give me data. I was like, what's going on here? So I was like, I think I should go. And you don't have to go back to university to run business. We see plenty of entrepreneurs that don't. But I was like, let me go back to university and get some accounting background because that's where I knew I was weak. And so I went and got that. And things changed after I got that degree in a major way that I had never expected. And so that's probably still dating myself, but just in terms of entrepreneurship.
Can't leave us hanging now. Let's dive into the power of that accounting experience.
Yeah, so I got connected with another guy. He was running a landscaping company, and he was finishing his MBA at Duke University. And he was in the same kind of boat, and he created this expert system where you could take an income statement and balance sheet from your bookkeeper, and it would change it into a plain language report that any business owner could understand. And it also created a repository of private company financial data so we could compare them to others. And that turned into back to, all right, let me hit the streets again. And this time I used the phone instead of knocking on doors. And I cold called like crazy. I was to see who would buy this. And of course, it worked out great. We became Inc. 500, which means we're one of the fastest growing companies in the country for 3 years. We got into the banking market, and then that turned us into a multi-billion-dollar company. We had a very successful exit with that company. So we went from incubator, I literally worked in a hallway, to multi-billion-dollar company. So it's been quite a ride.
I got 2 parts, 2 questions. They're all jumping around in my head now. We're going to talk about advice for that exit strategy. But first, building a team and scaling a team. What qualities did you look in for your employees that were a good fit and long-term? And then after that, when did you stop hiring? When did you hire someone to start hiring?
Yeah. So good questions, right? So the first thing that we did is you needed to have a 4.0 from a now this is a couple decades ago. Again, things have changed, right? And we've changed too in the latest business, which we haven't even got to yet, which is fine. So when I started to scale, when I smell blood in the water, it is all systems go. And I want all the sharks. And I also wanted to get a bunch of younger folks. And the fact is, it was for compensation. Let me just be plain, right? We were trying to scale a company, but I knew I wanted 4.0 students with high GPAs that would come in and crush it. The second place I looked was out of professional sports. So not everybody who's in pro ball, like baseball, makes it. They make it to the big league, but they don't stay long enough and get these huge contracts. So when they can't continue, they actually go and get a corporate job. So I hunted down ex-MLB players that didn't really make it, but they're super competitive because they have the discipline, the drive, the daily nutrition, the mentality. And I was able to put them in this case, to the sales team and scaled that sales team quickly, and we started taking over. So it was foot to the floor, and then I got to build in all the good, bad habit because they didn't have background in they didn't come from another corporation. I got to lay the foundation.
You get to mold them exactly how you want your employees to be. That's a beautiful thing. Well, what was the reason now? I mean, I think I don't want to assume you chose to focus on athletes because they had this regimented work ethic already. They were dedicated. What other areas were attractive about choosing athletes?
I mean, all those reasons, but they're highly competitive nature. So when you want a sales team that's competitive, that's the bottom line. Like with my engineers, they need to be competent. Like we put them through tests. You can't fake it in engineering. The stuff works or it doesn't. And I can give you tests to prove that you can do that. And then after that, as we do client acquisition, again, back to recurring revenue. I love selling recurring revenue products. I took those salespeople that were not the top, also not the bottom, but right in the middle that loved customers, had good customer support. We made them customer success people, but they also had renewal metrics and renewal goals. So I got to plant the seed of selling. If you can't cold call to cash, you can't be with me. Like I love hunters. Like I want hunters and I want them to be able to do full cycle. So, there's just some blocking and tackling that I like to have with my businesses.
I absolutely love that. You want them to be well-rounded and that way you're able to set the system standard in your company. We teased it, and I know we're not even at LiveSwitch yet, but you got to get through the hard lessons learned before we talk about all the gold. We're just entering an amazing exit. Congratulations on that. What tips or information do you know now that you wish you knew when you were getting ready to exit?
So the exit process for me was really left to my partner. I let him do it. It's good to have a good partner. Like pick your partner. So I was still running point, and that exit process I let him handle, and that we found a home with KKR. I mean, large company, KKR, lots of cash, and they were able to price for a large price, right? So. And different acquisitions require different folks. Like if you acquire a smaller company, you're going to have more opportunity to go right to individuals. But when you're looking to get a ton of money, you're going to need to go to some of the larger institutions. This is what it is.
Now, did you have to stay on in an advisory role for a certain amount of time? Or let's talk about how you as the founder had to facilitate your involvement even post sale?
It just depends. So held on to a number of our staff. Some of the staff we hired still there to this day. I hired them 20 years ago. They're still there. But for some of the key players, what happens is they install other management teams, go through everything, and they run it their way. And any of the people listening are like us. When you're a founder, you don't like to be managed. So you go start another thing. This is what you do.
Were you already planting the initial seeds for this next company before the exit, or did you already have this company in your mind since you were a kid? What led to now LiveSwitch? If you're checking us out on live stream now, you're seeing the fresh gear.
Yep. So actually, we went into philanthropy. We decided to just kind of hang out in a different way, different capacity. And I wouldn't call it hanging out because my partner built inmates to entrepreneurs, putting thousands and thousands of currently and previously incarcerated men and women through our entrepreneurship program because people don't like to hire people with a record, and we believe in second chances. And that also led to an ABC television show called Free Enterprise, won a bunch of awards, really heartwarming stuff. And then I started a nonprofit here in Asheville, North Carolina. And then my partner found another company, went to work, and he's like, all right, let's do this again. So after about 4 years ago, we, instead of starting back in an incubator from scratch, this time we decided to purchase a company and then take that company and take what we've learned and grow it. And that's where LiveSwitch was born.
Where was the original founders from? Where was it birthed?
It was birthed in Vancouver, Canada. It's a nerdy thing called WebRTC, Web Real-Time Communication. We wanted to find a company that had a unique product that not many other companies had. We wanted to find something that was founder started and led. And then we wanted to find something that we could join and take the skills that we learned from the last company and grow that company. And we looked at hundreds of companies, but this is the one that really fit the mold. Love the founder. He's still here. He's doing great, fully part of the team. And we bought a company full of computer scientists.
That's amazing. And I know the work ethic, the high grades, and coming from a company established, you're able to mold people again, which is really, really cool. Let's talk more about IQVIA, where you joined. What is that?
Yeah, what is that? No one can ever pronounce it. That's okay.
That's why I spelled it out.
That's all right. IQVIA is what they call themselves. It's a Fortune 500. I wanted to go and spend a stint at a large company so I could learn, because our last company was large, multi-billion, but they are Fortune 500. So like sometimes you got to go and learn. So I was an entrepreneur there. They would give me millions of dollars every year and I could build whatever products I wanted in clinical. And I started a whole organization called the Customer Buying Experience, and I built a bunch of clinical tech. I'm also a product guy. So I went in there and learned the big business, and I saw like huge contracts. We're talking like the average deal size, millions of dollars, and selling deals for like $240 million. So I wanted to see those deals getting done and then make the jump. And back into startup mode.
And now, what was your exit you said again?
StageWorks exited, right? Yeah. We went to nonprofits, other things. I went to Fortune 500 to learn that. Yeah. My partner found this company that we're at now. And then I came back and we're like, all right, let's get the band back together again and do one more.
I wanted to make sure I had that cycle right. Everyone, entrepreneurship is unique. No journey is going to look the same. So make sure you're just following your authentic journey, because it brought him right back to where he needs to be. Are we also working on something else, James? Are we focused on this one? Yeah, if I had a feeling, let's talk about it.
Always. So I got my hand on multiple nonprofits, sitting on boards, and also building my own. I love that part of giving back. But with LiveSwitch, what happened is I came in as a product officer. So I love tinkering with things as well as growing businesses. So I learned to the best I could WebRTC, and these engineers would speak to me in English. And I'm like, I'm nodding my head. I'm like, I don't understand the word they're saying. I literally have no idea what these guys are saying. It's that complicated. It's so hard, but eventually you learn. And I got an opportunity to work with the chief of police in Washington, D.C. to reinvent the 911 telephone call. So now in the future, yeah. And if we had to come up with a system that would be no apps, I can tap right into your cameras, because it's called this in policing. It's called situational awareness, and also in firefighting, you want to know what you're getting into. Sure. So all citizens pretty much have smartphones. I think they give you these now when you're born. It's just a thing now. So we want to tap into these cameras, and we have to do it in a frictionless way. So now we can send you a text, you tap the text, and you hit allow. That's it. Allow is a safety feature. Once you hit allow, I'm in your cameras, and I can stream those cameras anywhere, in this case, to a police car, a fire truck. So the citizen can hold it up, and instead of just trying to explain it on the phone when you're compromised, it's impossible to explain things. Sure. Just show it, point and show. And so from there, government takes forever. Still great. We're crossing some universities now using it. We said, who else could use, a click to connect, frictionless technology? And lo and behold, I started going into one of my buddies. See, your network is also great, right? So because of my network, one of my buddies, he's in the Hall of Fame of self-storage. I didn't even know there was that, but there's a Hall of Fame of self-storage. He's like, James, I'm telling him the same story like I'm telling you right now, Vincent. He's like, come in here and disrupt self-storage. All we do is we have a bunch of properties and we're trying to manage more facilities, but with less people, figure this thing out with what you got. So I was like, John, I don't know anything about self-storage. He's like, don't worry. Come with me to Vegas and I'll walk you around and you can meet all the who's who's and guys have been doing it. So I started doing that, putting pen to paper. And I had these virgin eyes, right? Like I didn't know anything about it. And while I'm learning, I'm so ignorant about it. I'm like, oh, there's moving and storage companies. It says storage on the building. Well, it's not the same as self-storage. It's warehousing. But I met this, again, serious guy in the moving industry, of all industries, moving boxes, like moving families. He looks at it. He's like, James, you have no idea what you have. What are you talking about? He's like, we will use this for virtual estimates. So my guys no longer have to drive out. They can send a text. The person in the house can walk around. My guys can see it, quote it, and close it. And then we'll go and do the job. And he was so right. And I feel almost like, I wish I should have figured that out coming from my painting and power washing. That should have been my idea. But best artist, well, we didn't steal it. He just said it and I built it, right? And so he gave me the answer to the test. The customers have the answer to the test. If you spend enough time with so many people, you start pattern recognizing. And then if I have the builders, computer scientists, so we built it and boom, hundreds and hundreds of home service companies. Now we're in self-storage property management. I've got like doctors and dentists and all these people using it because we've created a third-party remote assistance platform. It's crazy.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, everyone. Ask those questions. Your network is your net worth. You're showing a great example of that today. Before I get your contact info, before I ask you which entrepreneur you want to sit down with throughout history, I'd love to just ask, what's a piece of advice you can give a new small business owner, someone in the early stages? Again, something you wish you knew then that you certainly do know now with your incredible experience.
Well, you hinted at it, right? Do you have your own personal board of directors, right? Are you taking the time to build your network? I coach a lot of new entrepreneurs on how to build a network when they have no idea. And it's not as hard as you guys think it is. It just doesn't, at first doesn't feel right. You're like, what? That's how you do it? Well, obviously you get introductions. Like smart people know smart people. So introductions, word of mouth is your best of the best, right? So start with what you already have, who you already know, who's connected. Second, there's this little site called LinkedIn. I think maybe you heard of it, right? Join it. Put a nice picture of yourself. I used artificial intelligence to help me make mine. I'm just giving you tips of the trade. And then you make that thing look good. And you can go into any industry with zero contact. And I've done this. I've proven it. All right. Yeah. You go in and what you do is you literally connect with 20 people a day. Blind connect. Just hit the connect button. You have to do nothing else. Don't pitch. Don't say a dang thing. Just hit connect and don't do more than 20. Okay. Because if you do more than 20, guess what? You'll get blacklisted. So don't do it. All right. From there, some wonderful soul will say yes. In the beginning, like 1 out of 10 if you're lucky. But if you do this every day, and you should do it every day, including the weekends, eventually you pick an industry, pick a niche. So if you're a new entrepreneur, that's who I'm talking to right now, find your niche that you're in and connect to 20 a day. Mm-hmm. After you do this for about 3 or 4 months, when you connect to anyone in that niche industry, you'll now have like 70 mutuals or 100 mutual connections. You know what that person is thinking when they see someone with 100 mutual connections? What are they thinking, Vincent?
We're friendly. It's a warm lead.
Yeah. Like, why don't I know this guy? Yeah. We got 100 mutual connections and I don't know this guy. So then your connection rate goes up.
That is network. Amazing advice. Something I do as well. I mean, I've had for my company, when I look at clients signed, LinkedIn Sales Nav, for me specifically, has paid the most dividends. So I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. Thank you for shouting that out. Everyone, be on LinkedIn. Stop scrolling on all the other networks. For me, my shiny object was Instagram before I really focused on YouTube, where I started having shows with writers and more video content, because that's what's engaging people and actually turning clients. Great advice. I gave you the warm-up. If you could sit down with any entrepreneur throughout history, James, dead or alive, and it could be at any point of your journey, it doesn't have to be today, who would you choose and why?
My laundry list is huge, man. Okay, I'm literally arm wrestling between Dale Carnegie, Steve Jobs, or Elon Musk. And no, I'm not political at all. I'm apolitical. Dale Carnegie, man, right there. Boom. That guy, I mean, empire builder, right? And he did it with old school tech, right? So the reason I struggle to pick is because what is old still work, no doubt, 100%. But there's also some new school things that are going on. And I think that's where, again, I'm not political, but the Elon Musk would be really helpful, how he did his influence, right? It's about influence, but also, I've read his entire biography, and there's certain chapters in Elon Musk's book. You don't need to read the whole story. Go to chapter 18 and chapter 46. That's entrepreneurship. That dude was sleeping on the floor of the factory. And I don't care what you say. Like sleeping on the floor of your factory is sleeping on the floor of your factory. How can you do that? So I got to go with Elon Musk this time. I really love Carnegie, and I just love it.
Well, I respect the titan of industry type pick because they didn't have Google. They didn't have all these easy resources we take readily available. And now even with AI, but Elon, you can say what you want about him. The guy's a visionary. He's going to do crazy, crazy good things for our country. Hopefully he's in the White House. So that's not being political. That's just an entrepreneur rooting for an entrepreneur who going to space. He started with PayPal. You know what I mean? The guy's visionary after visionary, like our guest today. So James, I have to thank you so much for taking the time. And again, a big shout out to Margaret for coordinating this whole interview. You got to show respect where it's due. Where can we find you online, your website online, all things James Hatfield?
LinkedIn. Shocking, right? Look for James Hatfield on LinkedIn, LiveSwitch. And if you want to get to know the company more, check out LiveSwitch, LiveSwitch.com. If you want to get right to me, just say book a demo and say, I want to talk to James. And we can talk about, we don't have to talk about, technology or tech. We can just talk about how you're doing in your business. And I love consulting and anything. And guess what? I'll do it for free. So I just like giving back. So if you're and you want some tips, reach out.
Well, if you're on the live stream today, James, please go on my LinkedIn because this is going to be posted there. Drop a comment so they have your contact info. They can connect with you before the episode. I got a lot of value, so I know everyone else did too. My name is Vincent A. Lanci, and you can find me at vincentalanci.com. All social media at my name. This show is brought to you by johnford.com. He has a brand new app to go along with his empathy card set, tampacw.com, and Coming Alive Podcast Production.com to get started potting today. But with that, we're signing off today. James, thank you very much for joining our community of entrepreneurs.
Thank you for having me, guys. Keep building great stuff.